up with it, everybody? Back on episode 2, Lowriders Lloyd. My good friend Putt out of Louisiana brought his 64 out here to cruise the streets of Long Beach, LA. He's been all over. We just got back from San Pedro. He's actually the guy that bought my 1963 Impala Public Enemy.
Yeah, so it was my first lowrider. I guess when I was 12, I had Lowrider magazine in Louisiana. It was a childhood dream. Well, I met Lloyd on Instagram, and he was nice enough to come out here and kind of show me, what cars were for sale. So as I saw, that it was going to cost more to cut one and do all that, he had the red one, Public Enemy, that I loved when I saw it. So I was like, I was here for 3 days. I'll just take that one. So I jumped into it, both feet, went home, didn't know that I even had a mechanic there. I didn't know anything about them. And ended up meeting Joe with Refried Dreams, and he grew up out here, so he helped me not only keep it going, but he actually floated the firewall and did all the stuff under the engine, go crazy. I spent more under the engine bay than I did on the car, but I was emotional with it. It was my first lowrider, so.
I mean, if you guys saw my car back in the day, driving around, which I'm sure you did if you were into the low riding back then. I mean, to me, the car was like damn near done. When he took it and did all the stuff to it, I couldn't believe it. Immediately pulled out the engine, matched all the patterns underneath the hood. This guy had chrome and gold engraved bumpers. I mean, he went and did the works.
Engraved the engine?
Yeah. It recently sold. It actually sold for about what he put in under the hood. Straight up. And it's in.
It was more of an emotional thing, but I had it for almost 4 years.
That car went to Humble, Texas.
It did.
Where I ended up when I got arrested.
But I went to a good home, and I'll get to visit. It's only 4 hours from my house, so it didn't come back to California. And then I got the blue one.
The blue.
Probably about a year ago.
So we were hanging on the beach. We took it out rolling. I'm trying to just show the action of the car. If someone doesn't have a car, I do with musicians. I usually take them riding in my car. I just like to, show how the music in the car goes together and the different walks of life, because you come across so many different people. Like, people expect you to be a certain way when you get out of an Impala.
Right.
I've had all different types of people rolling up next to me like, hey, what's up? They just stop when they see me in it. I'm like, oh, it's always been that way. It was one of the main reasons I wanted to bring you on here, because, man, you're one of the realest dudes I've met. You always have been true to your word, and I told you the addiction was going to be pretty heavy. You get your first one, and it's something about them. I don't think I could ever live my life not having one. Even if I sold them all, I'd go get another one from somewhere and just do it. It's something about it. If I didn't have that in my garage, I just feel completely stripped.
I'm the same way. You see it?
Oh, they drop those nuts. See them right there? They eat those nuts off the tree and drop them on those cars. Come on, guys. Don't do it. Get that white car. They're badass birds, man.
You got that on video.
How you do it? How you do it? But yeah, it's been a good time having him out here. Also, Rolex gang. Tell him how you got into those. He just came in with the bezel.
So, actually, Gibby, when the 36, and I've never been a flashy guy, but when he had the little 36, it was just enough. And so I had this watch for a couple years, and then I just got the bezel a couple weeks ago.
I got my son one, I'm about to buy my daughter one, I'm about to get myself one. And it's not because I'm trying to be flashy, it's because they are wonderful investments.
They are.
People don't
Same
really
with them
realize it.
Impalas.
Oh yeah.
Like if something goes wrong, you can always cash out.
Absolutely, and they gain value. Like this one was the last year they did the GMT two-tone. And now that they don't make it, it's discontinued. It damn near doubled in price. I got it right in the perfect time. Highly recommend. It's not just to be flashy. I always just wanted one because I always saw successful men, and I always thought that was like a status symbol. That was the only reason I wanted one. And I want to be able to hand my son down, which I've already bought him one, but I bought him a girl's one. had it sized down because his wrist is so tiny, so it looks like he's got a little fat Rolex on his arm. Yeah, I like it. He's just clowning around. But his watch I got for $2,000, and I think it's worth $32 now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like I said, guys, it's a good investment.
For sure.
I try to get all the boys into getting them.
Yeah, so the business started off with just me. And I mean, just credit cards and a dream is how I started it. But my dad had a janitorial business. But I saw him and my mom, both, they were grinders. Mm-hmm. Like my mom cut hair out of the house nonstop, and dad ran the service station. For a while. Yeah. That's a hard grind. I mean, even my sister, my brother, they were all grinders, so that's all I knew was hard work. So, yeah, and then I did everything myself. Wanted to retire my parents, which I've took steps here recently to do that, so it's a blessing. But
you retired your parents?
I haven't retired them, but I've there's installments. Like, I was thinking that I was going to do it, but you want to do it all in a big thing, well then that number was never going to come.
Right.
So I've started in small steps. So yeah, I've done that first thing, and that was an emotional thing for us. But yeah, and they're fine on their own too. But I just wanted to, they still got their business and they're still healthy and going. But
That's
I wanted to give back.
I would love. I didn't get a chance to. I took care of my mom. I always did her really well, but I did never get the chance. Like the house that I just recently bought, I would have loved to have her live with me there. I had a whole room for her. She could have done it however she wanted to, but she ended up passing. You're married with children, right?
Yeah, I've got a 17-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter, and they both like the car.
At the church, or you do it, guys?
We do it through the Simple Church, which is a church that I love so much because it's basically not about religion, and it's all about missions. So we do local missions too, with like we put shoes on kids' feet.
So a lot of guys in this game, they always say, "Hey man, I want to buy a car from you," and the first thing they tell me is, when I tell them the price or whatever, they're famous saying is, "Oh man, I gotta talk to my wife and ask my wife about it." I'm like, your wife has something to do with you getting a classic, bro? Like, you can't just make your own decisions? So what's been your experience with your wife?
I'm lucky with that because I think I've talked about it so much as we've been married that when I said I was coming out here to get, she was like, finally.
Yeah.
So she could quit hearing about it. And then there's been, when I first got it, I was super emotional with the car, but then it taught me so much patience, and we've gone through all that. But now Sarah's been really good with letting me live out what I wanted to with these cars, because it's a lot. They're expensive, a lot of maintenance, a lot of things go into it, but she's been really awesome about it.
You start stacking up 2 or 3, you know what I mean? And they're like, oh, what?
Yeah, wait a minute. Time out. But she's like always like, I ask her, but she's like, whatever.
Yeah, so. Brianne's the same. I pretty much do whatever I want. She supports me. She knows I'm into it.
That makes it nice.
Yeah, it does. It makes it a lot better. It's good to have a supportive wife when you're into low riding, because a lot of money goes into these side mistresses. Is what I call these damn Impalas.
Yeah, she joked about it like that too.
It's like I compared it to being in a toxic relationship one time, and a guy was like, "Man, I can't believe you would compare low riding to a toxic relationship." I said, "Is that right? Have you ever owned one? Do you know how much money you put into them and how little they give back? You know what I mean? And then they break on you and you do it again. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's not toxic. I mean, it's my freedom, but also it can be toxic. You can fix them, put $5,000 into them, spend a couple hours, break something else. I mean, that feels very toxic to me, but
for sure.
It's one I'm willing to accept, these stupid little mistresses.